Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another week's training of Scentsy Success Academy. And I told y'all after a while, much practice I've had, that is a tongue twister, and I think I finally have gotten it down, you guys, because I've said it so many times, and it is a tongue twister. But this week's Scentsy training, I'm so excited about because, as you can see, I'm not the only one that is doing the training this week, and I figured I'd go and shake things up a little bit. I know that y'all might be a little tired of seeing my face and my voice, and I figure I'd give a little bit of a break. And I'm excited because I have my boot camp peeps joining me, and I'm very ready for this. So buckle up, grab a pen and paper. We have some wisdom to share with you guys, and we're gonna do like a little bit of a round table discussion. It's gonna be a fun little Q&A. It's a little bit different than probably what y'all been used to with my typical training, so this is gonna be a lot of fun, and hopefully you have some key takeaways. And if you do, make sure and comment on the video below and share this with your fellow Scentsy peeps because, sharing is caring. So we're going to go ahead and break the ice, and I'm going to introduce myself, even though most of y'all that are probably watching this know who I am by now. But just for humor's sake, my name, as you can see, is Megan Clark, and I'm so excited to have y'all here. I have been a Scentsy consultant for 5.5 years now, so almost 6 years this October, which is incredible and crazy to think about. And one of my favorite products that I have been using the most through the summertime is for sure the pods. I love the pods, mess free. I'm having fun mixing them. Different fragrances. To be honest, it's not really a lot of current fragrances, full transparency. It's a lot of the fall, winter, summer mixes. It's literally just whatever I have on hand at this point because, budgeting. So there we go. But without further ado, I'm going to have my other friends introduce themselves. So y'all go ahead and take it away.
Hey guys, my name is Kim Kee and I joined Scentsy in October of 2017. So one of my favorite products, just like Megan, I am a huge pod fan. I love our warmers and waxes, but my pods are my go-to and our cleaning line. I'm a big cleaning person, so the cleaning products are about my top favorite products.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll go. I'm DeeDee, and I have been with Scentsy since February of 2017. So we're pretty close to 8.5 years. I'm pretty much like y'all. I'm using my pods a lot more. We travel for my husband's job, so pods are an easy way where I'm not going to have to worry about while we're in transit, wax melting and stuff like that. And I am loving the Scentsy swipes. And bathroom cleaner. Bathroom cleaner is great too.
No.
What about you, Michelle?
Well, I'm Michelle Lesener, and I've been a Scentsy consultant since February of 2015, so I'm going on 10.5 years. My big products have been the washer whips and the Scentsy Fresh.
Yes, I love the Scentsy Fresh.
Yes.
All right, you guys, so let's go ahead and ask some questions. So the first one, I think what we'll do is I'll probably, obviously we'll ask the question, I'll answer it real briefly myself, and then same thing, we'll just round robin as far as whoever's next after me. All right, so first question. What was it about Scentsy that initially grabbed your attention? So for me personally, I would say hands down, it was the join video. I didn't know Scentsy before I joined. I had no idea what the products were, period. Didn't even know wax and warmers. But it was the join video. It was the color, the confetti. Everybody just looked like they were having a party. And I like to party and I like to have a good time. And so that just really spoke to my spirit. And I didn't really care what else came with it. It was just the fact that there were some just friggin' confetti cannons shooting out. I was like, I don't know what this is about, but I want to be in front of the confetti cannons.
Love it.
Go ahead, DeeDee.
Oh, okay, I'll go. I've actually been a Scentsy customer, gosh, for years. But I had never really thought about joining. And then, I have a friend coming to visit. Come on. My dog's trying to come in here. So I never really had thought about joining or anything like that. And then So the reason I actually joined was so that my husband would leave me alone without getting a hobby. And you know, something to get me out of the house and to get me out of like the little prison thing that I had created for myself. And so I had zero intentions of doing anything with it. But, you know, it worked. Like he left me alone, but it ended up being, as you'll find out later, more.
I love that. Thanks, DeeDee.
For me, it was, I had no clue what Scentsy was. I was invited to a home party. I walked into the house. The first thing I saw when I walked into her house was a Stargaze diffuser. My eyes immediately went to her Stargaze diffuser, and that was the first thing that I saw, and that's what captured my attention. And I went from there.
I love that.
Yep.
For me, it was a party. I had a party with a catalog and a couple samples, and it was through a cousin of a friend of mine. And I had this party. It ended up being like an $800 party. And I got told, you know, if you had had a party, this was what you could have earned. And I kind of, she talked to me a few times and we kind of talked, and I held off for 4 months and then I joined.
That's cool. I love that.
Yep.
All right. Did you immediately see the business potential, or did that come later? So interesting for me, whenever I did decide to join, which was shortly after I had a party for a friend, I talked about it with my husband. At the time, I was actually working a 9-to-5 management job in retail. And funny enough, at the time, I was actually going to join under a friend that sold for a different company. And she had, you know, talked to me a bit about joining under her. And whenever I had this party for my other friend, my Scentsy party, I did see the potential, because I did have an incredible party. Mine actually ended up being close to about $800. And what was really cool about mine was more of my sales came from online. I did have maybe about 2-3 people that showed up to my home party that I had for my friend. She at the time, funny enough, did not ask me to join. It was just a matter of, you know, hey, check the website out. Let me know what you want with your rewards. I stumbled across the join link. But for me, I did see the potential, even though at the time, because I was working full time, it wasn't really necessarily that I needed the money, but I did see the potential as far as like, if I was to make something of this in the long haul, you know, I said, this is something that people are going to come back for. Because at the time, the other company that I was going to join under, the products, the company was great, but I didn't really see a return in those products because of the longevity of how long they lasted. And I told my husband, I said, this is going to be great. I said, but when it comes to Scentsy, I said, these products, you know, you love it, you use it, and then you need to order again. And so whenever I saw that's where it unlocked the potential, you know, to where I was like, I think something big, you know, can come from this further down the line.
Makes sense. Yeah. You know, at first I didn't see it at first, and it was just because I didn't know what to compare it to. I had never done any type of sales like this before, so I had no comparison. Once I joined, um, I didn't, I mean, I joined, but I had so much, I felt like in the beginning, I had so much that was thrown at me that it was, you know, taking all these chunks in. And so I had to kind of like read this and read that and do this and do that, that it wasn't until I started deep diving in and watching training videos and watching other leaders that I could really see. And I was like, okay, okay, it's really starting to click here. And I knew that it wasn't just being said, that it was really being done. That was the moment for me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go. So tough definitely came later for me. I literally spent the first entire year every 4 months being up for cancellation because back then it was like you had to be active every 4 months. And so what changed was in February the following year, so February 2018. One of my upline leaders, Caitlin, had talked me into going to World Tour in Houston. And I was like, I didn't really want to go, but it was like, oh, okay, well, I finally like gave in and I went terrified because I didn't know anybody. I ended up going by myself and Caitlin didn't show up. So it was there that they were talking a lot about the growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And I was like, huh, like, and they did go over in one of the classes. This was back when we did breakout sessions. And so you went to different rooms, you know, not, everything wasn't all in one thing. And so I went to one of them and they went over the compensation plan. And I was like, huh, if I recruit people, then I can make more money and I can do this and I can like share this with other people. And so I was determined that when I went home, that I was going to hit that 500 personal retail volume PRV, so that when I finally did get my first recruit, I was already in that prepared for the numbers that I needed to get to promote to lead. So it was definitely a year later that it finally clicked with me.
Everything happens for a reason. It's all
I'm
about
slow.
timing.
I'm a slow learner.
What about you, Michelle?
I think in a way for me, it kind of was both because like Scentsy's always kind of been a side hustle for me because it's been working alongside my 9 to 5 job. And so because it's been a slow growth for me no matter what the entire time I've been with Scentsy. And I've been finding like dips and ups and dips and ups with it for me as my clientele changes. So for me, the money is not where it is for me to substantiate like surviving on Scentsy alone. But it is definitely a money thing for me, sure.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, and I feel like too that you know, and I was just thinking about that too, because you know, in the very beginning, 5.5-ish years ago, for me too, it was like at first it was like, okay, maybe some potential like side money. But then I agree, Michelle, like for me, like over the last 5.5 years, it's definitely been very much like a dip, like roller coaster, but in like the best way possible. Because I feel like that what's interesting enough is like when my business is maybe in kind of like a low, then I'm in a good place to where it's not gonna like take me under. And then I feel like that has come over in the last couple of years. It wasn't like that in the beginning, but then now it's like there's so much more, it's so much more complex that like holds me here in this space. And it's no longer like just, oh, I can just make some side money because I can do that anywhere. You know, I feel like that it's everything else, you know, I feel like for myself, you know, that I've gotten since I've been here. For sure, hands down. What were you doing? Oh, I love this. I'm like, it's my own question. I'm like, oh, this is cool. What were you doing before Scentsy, and how did it compare? This is cool. It's like walking us through like our Scentsy story almost. So what was I doing before Scentsy? So I kind of said that earlier, right? So before Scentsy, I worked my way up. I originally worked for Loft, retail store, and then eventually moved over to Ann Taylor. But I worked for both of those companies for I think close to about maybe 5.5, 6 years, something like that. And I worked my way up. Back then, I started low on the pole, like sales associate, and then went all the way when I was in Ann Taylor. I was considered, I call it a code manager, but it was basically like assistant manager, and I freaking loved it. Because to know me is to know that I love clothes, retail. Customer service is something special in itself. I'm just gonna say that. It's not for everybody, but everybody should at least try it once in their life.
Yes.
But it was just it was pretty incredible because even though there was a lot of downside to it, it was just being able to connect with others and to fill everyone else's cup and build them up. And man, you know, you really get to know somebody in a dressing room, and you know, the not so great parts, and you get to hear their story and pour into them, and it did so much more for me. Little did I know that obviously that Scentsy was gonna just come into my lap during the retail time, and especially specifically during the definitely the hardest year of my retail career is when Scentsy came about, which was really cool. It was just impeccable timing, and it gave me like a mental out. I would say how it compares, it's pretty much almost like one and the same, I feel like, because if there's something that you're passionate about and something that you're well knowledged in and that you enjoy and you love, you're going to be able to share it and sell it. That to me, that's the bottom line. And I feel like that my retail journey, I was able to connect with others, build them up, build a community. I had regulars, honestly, that would come in just to talk. And I feel like it's just the same with my Scentsy business, obviously. But to me, it's like, but it's obviously just different products. But the experience was the same.
Yeah, for me, my past work history, for 25 plus years, I worked in public safety. 25 plus years, I was 911 operator, and I worked in public safety. And then once I got out of that career for 7.5 years, or almost 8 years, I went into, I was an office manager for a property management company. So for 30 plus years, it has always been along the line of helping people, customer service oriented, regardless what the circumstances were. It was either really good things or really bad things or that type of thing. So when I got out of that, it just kind of flowed into with Scentsy. Scentsy is, we are customer service related. So it just kind of, it flowed. It was just, it was just it was just an easy transition. It was an easy flow for me. So yeah.
Okay, for me, immediately, I guess probably the first like 2 years prior to joining, I didn't really do anything. I was basically a stay-at-home wife. We had moved we had left Nevada and moved to Texas. We left everything, kids, grandkids, siblings, everybody. We left and we went to Texas for a job for John. And so I didn't need to like work outside the home, but then that's where I created that like, prison for myself. But prior to that, I've always been in customer service, whether I worked in this, in the grocery store as a courtesy clerk. Then I worked in one of the really big thrift shops when I was in Utah. Then I worked in an eye doctor's office, and you're always in that customer service and helping people pick out glasses or whatever. And so I feel like I have quite a bit of experience with the customer service thing. So taking care of my customers and making sure they're okay comes pretty easy to me. And I'm kind of like old school when it comes to the connection with them. But yeah, I didn't immediately prior to joining, I wasn't doing anything.
So
What
for
about you,
me,
Michelle?
I've actually been at the same job for the last 20 years now, as of this month. So for 10 years prior to joining Scentsy, I had been working at a casino in food service, and that's what I'm still doing now, along with Scentsy. And Scentsy actually came at a really important time in my life because my mom was going through some really trying times because my mom was really sick. And unfortunately, I lost my mom a year after I joined Scentsy. And I developed a really great support system through Scentsy.
That's great. And that was good timing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and what's interesting too, I was like thinking about jobs is that, especially as each of y'all were sharing, is that, it seems like that it doesn't matter where somebody's background comes from as far as what they've done, either like their current job, past jobs. I think that there's just some sort of like, if we were to look at somebody that like potentially wanted to join, for example, I feel like that we could look at the job that they have and can find something in that career that can connect with being a Scentsy consultant, not just sales, but outside from sales. So I thought that was really cool because that's what I was listening to each of y'all, and I'm like, man, these little things that they're talking about that they did in their jobs, I was thinking about every single thing that we do in our businesses, other than sales, because that's a given. But there's so much more, that goes into it, other than sales.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yep.
All right. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're getting personal, y'all. Take a sip. Take a sip of your drink. Challenges, triumphs, and lessons learned. Building a business is not always easy. Can you share a significant hurdle you faced and what you learned from it? Oh, y'all, we about to get personal. And I say personal because I'm that one that has to go first. All right. So one thing that comes to mind, hands down, was in the middle of the time that I've been a Scentsy consultant. Prior to Scentsy for a long time, have struggled with depression, and it hit me the hardest, like midway through. I feel like probably around, let's see, because I joined 2019, so yeah, so probably about 2021. I mean, what wasn't happening with me? I was struggling with depression. My husband and I were struggling with infertility. He was struggling with alcoholism on top of that. So it's just kind of like this trifecta, right? And here I have a team. I have a team at that time, right? So then, here I am, and I figured one of the biggest things that I could see that I worked through and I made it through the other side was finding that balance between what does it look like when you're struggling with your mental health, and you have a team that's counting on you. And at the time, I would say that I wasn't the greatest version of myself. And what I mean by that is that I was masking. I was showing up doing Zoom trainings when everything was just in the toilet in my household. But I was showing up to Zooms, perky, cheerleader. Like, I said I said I like confetti cannons, and that's how I showed up. Was like a cheerleader. And I wasn't transparent for quite a while with my team. And I think that hands down was one of the biggest hurdles that I had went through, was I wasn't as transparent and honest with them until like when it got really bad. And what I say is like I ghosted my team for the most part. Like I wasn't really showing up after a while. I was, doing the bare minimum. And I'm here to say, if y'all are watching this later on and you're going through a tough time and it's a tough season, just show up however you can. You don't necessarily have to be honest and transparent with everybody, because I'm a huge believer now in boundaries and keeping your peace and safe space. But hands down, I would say that was really something that I not only should have actually like stepped back, not away from, but kind of pulled back a little bit, instead of just kind of like, showing up in my office. Because I mean, on one hand, my office space was my savior. Like my Scentsy business saved me for sure during that time. But then at the same time, I wasn't being real and I wasn't being transparent. And I feel like that did hurt some, not only the relationships that I had with my team, but I got to a point where luckily I was able to save face. And then now it's just like it's so much different. Like, because like I said, I came from the out on the other side of that. Um, but it's like, man, you can't help but think about like how different things could have been, had I taken like a healthier approach, to it. But now now I've learned from that, you know.
Totally understand. For me, I promoted during COVID. I promoted to director during COVID. I also lost my title during COVID. And that was a big pill to swallow. That was extremely, I took it hard. And, you know, my team started falling off, and I took it personal against me. Like, what was I doing wrong? Was I not doing enough? Was I not doing enough for them? Was I not giving enough of myself to them? Was I not teaching enough? Was I not training enough? But then I look back and I was like, I'm doing Zooms, nobody's showing up. I was going live on my team Facebook group, nobody was showing up. I was posting all the time, nobody's commenting. I was sending team emails, nobody's answering. I knew what I was doing. So I kind of had to rewind and go, Kim, it wasn't you. It wasn't, you know, so I beat myself up, but then I had to go back and say, girlfriend, it wasn't you. So that's how I had to kind of like know that I was okay. I was okay.
Mm.
Yeah, that was
That's good.
huge for me. That was huge for me. Yeah.
All right, Miss DeeDee, you're up.
Oh, Kim, I'm like 100% with you, girlfriend.
Mm.
I did the same thing. I promoted and lost my title during, the big C word. And I actually attended my first director boot camp during that time. And I had lost my title that same month. And that was a struggle because I felt like I didn't belong there. And I felt like,
Absolutely.
I felt like, gosh, like I don't belong with these people. These people are all directors. And there was just one girl in our boot. So Megan and I went to our first boot camp together, and then we went to the second one with you all. And it's just like I feel like I made more connections with my second group of boot camp sisters than I did with the first, because I felt like there were so many of us that were in the same position and we all were feeling the same feelings. So that was like a huge challenge thing too. But I think another one of my like lessons is like this is kind of funny, but I'm not everybody's cup of tea. But that's because I'm coffee, so not everybody likes coffee either. you know? But I just feel like the more that I have come, like with Megan, the more I've come through that really terrible time in my life where I was just in such a dark hole. And the more that I allow myself to like show the real DeeDee, the more people that are attracting, I'm attracting. And I'm finding my tribe of people, and we're all pretty funny. I mean, we have some great times. And so I really have like that would be like a triumph thing, is that I do belong. Like I belong here. These are my people, and I can be in the highest of highs or the lowest of lows, and my Scentsy family is always going to be there.
I love
Amen.
that.
Amen.
I'm kind of in the same boat as DeeDee and Kim, in the way that like my directorship kind of was gained and lost in the same kind of year. Because mine was gained and lost in 2020, and I didn't have the biggest team underneath me because I had, and I still don't, I have a big group, but not a big team. And that's been my biggest hurdle, is rebuilding the team. But at the same time, throughout my journey, I switched sponsors because my original sponsor quit, and my current sponsor is my director, and she isn't super active. So it's hard for me to really reach out and get help.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I love is the next part. So it's like a two-parter question. Because now that we've shared a little bit about like the challenges and triumphs and hardship that we've been through, like a pivotal point in our Scentsy business, I love that when we go through something like that, there's always going to be like a result on the other side, right? So then, what would you say? What would y'all say that? What strategies, or maybe like what mindset you were in to shift, helped you would say to push through that tough time that you just shared about? So for me, I would say the mind shift, say that 3 times. Uh, that's a lot. I would say that what my kind of takeaway from that season of my life, what I know now is that is so important is that I love taking my day on like a day-to-day basis. And when I find that I'm going through a tough time or it's like a tough season or just something like I can't catch my breath, I've learned that it's important for me to for one, take time out for myself, to be transparent with those that I'm constant in contact with, just to let them know, like, hey, and just let them in on what's going on, with me. Because what I have found over the last couple of years since that time is that whether it's my team members or my friends, my people that I'm connecting with, whoever that is, that odds are somebody else is going through something else too. And I feel like it's kind of like not only like an icebreaker, but I've learned to kind of like what DeeDee was saying earlier is I've learned to show up more authentically me and not apologize for it. Now, it's not something that happened overnight. I would say that it was something that I've kind of taken like bits and pieces and planted seeds along the way from a plethora of things, whether it's like books I've read, advice that I've gotten from friends, therapy, deep reflection within myself. But anytime that there's something that is either happening with me personally or in my business, I've just learned, to listen to my body, listen to my mental state. Is this something that I need to step away from and maybe not do again in my business? Maybe it's something I need to change. Or is it otherwise something that maybe I want to take a little bit more time on and just kind of, ride it out? And I feel like it's going to be different no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. And my thing has always been just to never give up. I don't care. Never give up on a bad day. We've all heard that saying. Never. I don't care what it is. If you have to take 10 minutes and just never give up on a bad day. I am a very structured person. I'm a very organized person. I'm a planner. Like I am one of those that I have to plan things out. And like I know on Sunday what I'm pretty much going to be doing next Saturday. And if you have to make changes as needed, fine, make changes as needed. But don't ever give up. Pivot, make changes, do what you need to do. But don't never give up on a bad day. Just stop, think about it, don't don't react and push forward.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. Like you can never quit on a bad day. I think that is for myself is just always reminding myself that I do belong. And I have found like the more things that I attend or whatever, I went to a retreat and I was scared to death to go to this retreat. And I found out like there that I'm like, I fit in. And I never thought that I did. Like I wasn't one of those super popular people in high school or anything like that. I didn't have like 500 friends or whatever. And so I was like super self-conscious and like everybody always made me feel like I belonged there. And so that was one thing is overcoming the fact that I feeling like I don't belong when I in fact do. And then I know that I've always got like a huge community of Scentsy misters and sisters that are always there for us. If like we make these connections with everybody, and you need help with this or you need encouragement on this, whatever, I know I have like who to go to for certain things. And so that's just been super great. Hurdles that I have like coming over now is like navigating the constant moves, because we travel for John's job, and like literally we just moved this week. And so I feel like every single time that I've moved, it's getting easier and easier. And I don't feel like I'm like, I mean, I am starting over because I have to find new customers. I have to find new teammates and stuff like that. And we were, as I was going through all these questions and stuff, I realized that every state that we have moved into, I've recruited somebody. And I was like, that is a huge win. That is a
That's cool.
huge win. Like we just left South Carolina and I recruited somebody like the day before we left. You know, so I feel like I have such an advantage of doing living the lifestyle that we live, is I can meet so many more people, and it's been great.
I love that.
For me, I guess because we have such a network of family, being able to connect with so many different people, like DeeDee said, it's nice to be able to reach out to other people and pick their brains when I'm having a bad day or I'm having a problem, when I know my sponsor isn't the person I can reach out to anymore.
That's good. All right, so we are actually I'm going to ask you all one final question. We're going to skip ahead a little bit here and wrap it up. I was kind of skimming over. I'm like, which one of these stands out the most to me? So I think we're going to go towards like the very end of the questions. So can you share an experience or situation that highlights the power of the Scentsy community or the support you've received? Okay. So for me, I'm like, I gotta reread it over real quick. But let's see. So share an experience or situation. How this person. So I would say experience. So one thing that I absolutely love is now that I've plugged in more to Scentsy Land, as I like to say, there are so many different things to be able to plug in and connect with through the year. So when there is a consultant that is watching this video and you're thinking, I'm upset that I can't make it to SFR this year. The thing is that there is so much more than just SFR. It's up to us as consultants to be able to ask the questions and ask around as far as what's happening in the area. Kind of like what DeeDee shared earlier, that she had the opportunity and got invited to a retreat. Like that, those are the things that I think about. And the thing is that it's not like unless you're lucky enough to like join Scentsy tomorrow and then all of a sudden get asked to a retreat, but that doesn't always happen. And so I feel like what happens is it's a matter of, again, plugging in, getting to know somebody, networking. Even it just takes one person and it just kind of trickles on from there. Because as the years have gone by, now it's like there's opportunities of areas that I get to show up and participate in, whether there's like training activities or things that it's even honestly that Scentsy offers, so we have one of the things that I love is if for those y'all that are watching this video is on Facebook, there is a group called the Thursday Night Shift. And if you're not familiar with them and you're a newer consultant, I highly recommend searching that for Facebook, connecting with that. In fact, they're literally live right now because they do it every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central. So that's a little plug in for that. But also, I mean, there are a lot of things out there. There are retreats, and the thing is, I know sometimes I talk to consultants and they're like, well, I don't know if there's, I don't think there's retreats in my area, or there's no team gatherings or team meetups. Start one. All it takes is just 1 to 2 other people that you're connecting with and get yourself plugged in. And, there's things that Scentsy and Scentsy consultants do that don't cost any money at all or little to no money. But that's what I love so much is that depending upon your budget, depending upon where you're at, there's always something that we can plug in and connect with throughout the entire year to where we don't feel so alone in this business. But it is a 2-parter, so that's the first one. So I'll let y'all answer that one, and then before we wrap it up, I'll go to like the part 2 of that question.
Yeah. I mean, of course, going to SFRs and going to boot camp have been huge for me. I've gone to world tours since I've joined. The first one I went by myself, joined in October, and went to world tour by myself in February of 2018. Knew nobody. Went in like so scared, but I went. And so going to those and again, kind of going off of what you just talked about, and it makes it a little harder when, and I mean, I'll be completely honest and vulnerable here. I have no support from upline, from sponsor up, no support, no nothing. So that makes it a little harder. But I self-taught myself Scentsy, and I have survived. So going to boot camp made me feel a part of things. And so I'm constantly, still to this day looking to feel like I belong. That I am a part of, that I am worthy of, that I am okay with. That will probably always be there. But I'm okay with that.
That's good. Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
So I actually, in my earlier years of Scentsy, I did not have that upline support. And my now director, who is also my sponsor because I've rolled up like 3 or 4 times to her, Megan knows her. Can I say her name?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
She'll be watching this.
Patricia Capito is my director now. She's my sponsor and director. And she'll always be like, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, but here's the deal, people, is that if you do not have that upline support or from your sponsor or anybody up, go outside your group and find it. Because that's what I ended up doing. I started watching Kimberly Polita. She has an amazing YouTube channel. And so I started following her and learning stuff from her in those early years. And it's funny because I actually ran into her and I got to meet her when I insert income disclosure here. The trip to, I earned the incentive to Marco Island, and I was coming out of the bathroom and she was running in, and we literally just like ran into each other, and I stood outside and I waited for her to come back out of the bathroom. So I'm her bathroom stalker. But I had to say thank you to her because I feel like if it wasn't for her, I would have probably quit multiple times or or never got to where I was. And so that support is out there, and she got nothing. Like, she got nothing for helping me because I'm not even anywhere in her line anywhere. And so I told Patricia, I'm like, don't feel bad. And I tell my team, go find people, like connect with people, because when you learn something from some other team, you can bring it back and share it with our team, and and they may learn something from you. So our community of Scentsy consultants is just phenomenal. We're truly a family. It's just amazing. So that's my probably like my biggest thing with as far as the Scentsy community and the support that we have is everybody. I would say 99% of the people are always willing to help you.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. For me, in the early days of my Scentsy journey, I was big on a group called Heidi's Helpful Hints. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. And so I actually became good friends with Heidi that ran it. and I had a special like memory with her in 2016 because just she she when because that was the year my mom died, and she just gave me this big hug like as soon as she saw me.
Mm.
And I just remember how much that meant to me that year, because that was such a special, like, that year was such a crazy year. And so, like, that hug just was like, that's Scentsy family, that's caring, that's the community spirit.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
how cool is that? Like you were like a part of her group that she was sharing in. And then even like DeeDee, like you said, like I just think that's so cool, for both of y'all when you have somebody, that you like look up to and that you're connecting with. And I just think it's cool, like how we, have those moments where we end up like meeting them, and it's not really all the time on purpose, by accident, sometimes by bathroom, and I just think that's so cool, and it's important for us to do, right? Like the ones that are pouring into us, I feel like it's so imperative, it's so important for us to pay it forward and just let them know, like, thank you for showing up, right? Like, thank you for pouring, because I feel like that is so important. Because think about like even like what you said earlier, Kim, is that with your own team that you were posting and sharing and encouraging and building up and training, and it's just like, hello, knock, knock, is anybody like hear me? Is anybody there? Crickets. And it's like, we just don't know if we're making an impact or if anybody's paying attention. And I just think it's so cool, to think about how even if it's as scary as hell, talking to these people, because sometimes we don't know them, we see them behind the screen. We hold them sometimes to a standard, and we're just like, this is so awesome. I finally get to meet this person. It's so exciting, like this is my moment. And I just think that is so cool, for us to be able to share that with them, because we just don't know on the other side of the camera like what they're going through, right? Or like where their mindset was, because hell, they could have been thinking the same thing when they were doing those YouTube training videos and posting on Facebook and Instagram, right? And doing all the things. It's like, I'm doing this because it's part of my business. I don't know if anybody's going to respond or if anybody's
Right.
going to agree with what I'm saying, but I'm still going to pour into others. And I just think that's so cool. And it's not like we have to do that, right? We don't have to thank them. We don't have to, introduce ourselves. But if y'all are watching this video and you have somebody in mind that you're just like, man, I watch this person's training all the time, or this person encouraged me to do this, I we all highly encourage you to do it scared and introduce yourself to that person. If it makes it easier, do what I do. I find something about that person that I like and I compliment them on it, because otherwise I'm shaking in my boots, like, introducing myself, and I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. I feel like I'm in grade school again. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, I love your earrings, or oh, your shirt is so cute. And then it's kind of like the what is it, the How I Met Your Mother. I don't know if y'all seen that show or not, but there's this whole little spiel where they're like, have you met Ted? So that's what I think about when I'm introducing myself to somebody that otherwise I'm really nervous to meet and introduce myself to, is I'm like, oh, I like your earrings. Oh, by the way, and then like I give them my spiel of, where I've seen them. All right, so wrapping this up, the two-parter to that question. So y'all, we talked and shared a little bit about an experience or situation that we've been through that's highlighted the Scentsy community and why it is so important. But also going hand in hand with that, why would y'all say that connection and collaboration is so vital in this business? So I love this last question before we wrap it up for this week's training, because we talk about a little bit more about how it's going above and beyond just like our upline teams and our actual teams, and why connection and collaboration in itself is just so vital in this business. And I feel like to answer it real quick for myself, so y'all can have y'all's turn. I would just say that connection and collaboration is vital because it is the key that continuously is going to like pour into your cup. And don't let, just because you joined up under a team despite the circumstances and what that looked like, don't let that as a consultant hold you back from what's possible for not only yourself but for the potential of whatever and why ever you join this business. Because connection at the end of the day is going to help you feel seen, heard, and loved.
Mhm. Yeah. And for me I see it as we can all learn from each other. We are all teachable. You know, we can always take tidbits from somebody else and never have the mentality that you are always the smartest person in the room. Everybody is teachable.
Amen.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely agree with Megan, the connection and collaboration and stuff like that, because everybody has a different learning style and everybody has a different teaching style. Like some people may learn better by watching a YouTube video. Some people need that one-on-one connection. Some people need to read it in written, you know. So if I can connect one of my teammates or even somebody else with somebody that I'm like, oh my gosh, like so and so, you know, has this great video on it, let me send it to you. And you never know, like what happened with me, you make that connection and that connection led to meeting, you know, another person, and it led me to meet another person, it led me to meet another person, that, you know, so those little connections along the way. And the fact that I can even go to another leader and say, hey, I have a consultant in your area, would you mind meeting up with them when you have time, or if you guys have a team meeting, can they join you? And I think every single time I've asked that, they've always said, yes, I would love to help them, you know, because that's what we do. I was in that situation and I was living when we first started traveling and stuff like that. And that's something that I've missed so much by not being able to be there local to my original team in Texas, is that I miss all those team meetings that Patricia has and stuff like that, and those connections with people. And so every time I move a new state, I try to find somebody in my area that's a leader, you know, superstar director or a star director, or somebody that I can connect with and see if they have meetings and see if I can join in with their meetings and stuff. And they always say that I can. So if you're one of those consultants that, you know, are having that struggle and you're not connecting with your team, reach out and see if you can find somebody that, you know, you can connect with, because they're more than willing. All of those leaders are more than willing. And like Megan said, if you find something and you actually get that chance to meet somebody that you learn something from, let them know, because it means the world to them that
Yeah.
they touched one person, at least one person's life, because they
Sure.
don't know. Like Thursday night shift people, I ran into Jody Farmer, and I was able to tell her, I'm like, oh my gosh, like and I don't now remember, she said some quote, and I wrote the quote down and I carried it in my purse, and I actually had it in my bag when I ran into her, and I'm like, look, and she like got tears in her eyes. She was so excited that I shared that with her, because she's like, we never know if we're touching other people's lives, so it means the world to them to let them know that.
I have to say with collaboration, it kind of is great because, you know, you draw from other people and some people have skills that you don't have, whether it be they're good at maybe Canva and you might not be good at Canva, or they might be good at a different um something different that you're not good at, so they can help you with something that you struggle with.
That's good. Well, and one thing too, I was going to add in before we close it out, that I was thinking about, because I know we all a little bit, some of us were talking about like YouTube. And funny enough, this recording is actually literally going to be on YouTube. So if you're watching this, you're already there. So this is where I'm about to tell y'all, is that if you're watching this, and whether you're an older consultant or newer consultant, and you're like, you know what, that's great and all, and I'd love to be able to meet consultants, but I just don't know where they're at. I don't know how I'm going to connect with them. When I first joined, the vast majority of the bare minimum basics that I learned in this business was from YouTube trainings. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to know the names of these people because you've never met them, so you're not going to know their names. But if there's something that, if you're watching this video and there's something that you're wanting to learn more about, type that into the search engine and just say Scentsy. So for me, it was like Scentsy Happy Mail, Scentsy customers, Scentsy events, like you name it, add Scentsy to it. And I can think about 4 or 5 leaders that are still in the business that I followed their videos. And the cool thing too, y'all, if you're watching this, is that the videos that you're viewing, it does not matter for the most part, really, when they came out. Because some of the videos that I watched, granted, now that I'm like almost 6 years in, I can look back and be like, okay, some of those things don't exist anymore, right? Or some of those things, the details change, but the overall like umbrella helped me, especially because I I really, at the time that I needed it the most when I first joined Scentsy, watching those YouTube videos, even though I never met those people up until recently, at the time, it made me feel connected to them. It made me feel like I was in the same room with them and that I was learning from them, but also more importantly, that I was making friends. And it was just so cool. It's kind of like in a weird way how like we think we know celebrities, right? Like we think we know actors and actresses and singers, people that we follow through social content. We feel like we know them like they're our best friends because there's some of those that we ritually follow their content, right? And we can know that, or a TV show. Think about your favorite TV show. I'm like Grey's Anatomy. I thought they were real people for the longest time, right? Like I would talk about them like they were my neighbors, my family members. But that's what I feel like with like Scentsy community leaders, the ones that are posting these videos. And if you're also watching this and you find somebody that you like their content, make sure and click the follow button and subscribe to their YouTube videos, because if there's someone like myself, they're making more videos. So that way, as a consultant, you'll be notified whenever they post more content. So, but thank y'all so much for hanging out. This was so much fun. It's been too long since we have made face-to-face contact. And actually that kind of ties in what we were talking about, right? Like making connections with Scentsy consultants and collaborating and connecting. But this was so much fun, y'all. And if you're watching this, more than likely I actually will be doing something similar again, maybe once a month. So look forward to that. And also make sure and comment on this video if there's any questions that you may have for next month's panel, and we'll address that. But in the meantime, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. Thanks, Kim, DeeDee, Michelle.
Thanks for the
I had an
invite.
incredible night. Love you guys so much. Hope you'll have an incredible weekend, and I'm sure we'll be touching base soon. But y'all have a good night.
Thanks. See
Bye,
y'all.
everybody.
Bye.
Love y'all. Bye.